Welcome back, everybody. We are out here at Dean's place working again on the FRS J-Series swap. Tiffany's out of town doing a secret competition with the BRZ. Can't tell you about it just yet, but you guys will know soon enough when she gets back. So today we are finally doing some of the work on the 6-to-1 header. We're gonna start fitting it up today and start building it. It's gonna be a little bit of a learning experience. Never done a custom header myself, let alone a 6-to-1 with a custom collector. So it's gonna be pretty neat. So we got all of our tubing in, bought all kinds of J-bends, just random pieces. And we're also going to do the intake manifold today. Have to put a little pie piece in to get the throttle body at the angle that we need, as well as weld on this different flange. We're gonna be running this is a J37 drive-by-wire throttle body, and this is the flange we gotta weld on for it, as well as a custom intake manifold from Sean at P2R. We're gonna modify this quite a bit to fit our needs, as well as give us clearance for the header, since it's gonna take up quite a bit of room. We got stainless steel header flanges from P2R, and then all of the tubing comes from customraceheaders.com. We also have a collector that we bought from them. They made custom for our application. They are not a sponsor of ours, but definitely did really good work and kept with the timeline they told us we were gonna have everything, so very happy so far. Here is kind of a rough idea of where the collector is gonna sit in the car. So we can't run a typical header on both sides of the car because of where the steering shaft is located. So the headers are both gonna run forward into the collector and then out the passenger side like the stock FRS exhaust would have run. So our collector, so really nice piece. This is all gonna be a slip fit, which will be nice. We won't have to worry about trying to weld all of the tubes into the collector. Since everything's a slip fit, it's gonna be the only way we're gonna be able to take the header apart, is we'll have to slide the collector off and then take each header off on each side of the engine. Hopefully something we don't have to do at the track. We're not planning on doing too much motor work at the track. A couple other things we got. These are ported, CNC ported runners. These are from P2R as well. Very nice machined pieces. So we got those. Motul also was a sponsor of ours last year, as well as this year, so they sent us another ridiculous amount of oil, miscellaneous brake fluid, gear oil, and then they sell quite a few different detail sprays. And we used a lot of them last year on the wraps on the car with really good success. They have a spray in an aerosol can that we use on the wrap, and it works phenomenal. Doesn't hurt the wrap, is really glossy, and stays super clean. So Dean and I are gonna get the collector mounted. We're gonna mount the collector to the front of the engine temporarily so that we can pull the engine out and make all the runners on an engine stand. So we'll set up a time lapse so you guys can kind of see as we're building, and then I'll stop and fill you guys in as we run into headaches and whatever else, but hopefully it goes pretty smooth. We have tons of room, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. All right, so time for an update. We got the runners on cylinder 1 and 2 are finished. Looking pretty good. It's been slow going, but we're pretty happy with it. Getting ready to run cylinder number 3. Trying to keep it as symmetrical as possible. And also, luckily we have tons of room in the engine bay, so really don't have any issues. We're gonna have to put an angle on the front of the intake manifold to keep the throttle body low enough to clear the radiator ducting that goes over all of this. So we're gonna run the intake, will come off at 90 and run over to the passenger side. So, slowly but surely, 2 done, 4 to go. All right, end of the day today on Saturday. Dean and I just finished up getting one whole bank done. We got one bank done and one cylinder done on the other side, and it turned out pretty good. You guys tell us what you think, but pretty happy with the first 6-to-1 manifold we've ever made. It took quite a bit of time and a little bit of headache, but really not too bad. So tomorrow we'll get the other 2 runners done on this side, and then start taking it apart and getting it all welded up. And then my younger brother Josh works at a powder coat ceramic place, or a Cerakoting place. So he's gonna do the Cerakoting on the manifold and a couple of other pieces. And then we'll get it put back together and get it on the dyno. So check in with you guys in the morning. Thanks for watching. Okay. All right, we're back Sunday. It is once again a snowstorm outside. We drove out here with 6 inches of snow. Luckily Josh's Civic has snow tires on it, so no problem. Last night we ended off with one whole bank done and one runner on the driver's side finished. We now have 2 runners done, working on our last one. So it's coming together pretty good. The last runner shouldn't be too bad. These intermediate ones are always the most difficult ones to do. They're both done, so one runner left. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the car without the front bumper, but you can see the radiator duct that we have on here. All of this seals up to the bumper. We already had way too much cooling last year. We ended up taping off half the radiator. So we're hoping to be able to control the water pump, turn it down more this year to keep the temps down. Then we have our upper radiator duct that just barely fits. There's our upper radiator duct. Plenty of clearance for the header. Our throttle body will come off here and angle down, and the intake will go over. We'll make an air box over behind the passenger side headlight. So everything fits pretty good. Few pieces left, and then many hours of finish welding. So. All right, we're just getting finished up here at the end of the day. At Dean's, we got the header completely finished. Needs to be finish welded, but completely assembled, mocked up, everything's tacked. We got the majority of the downpipe finished up, so you guys can kind of see where the exhaust is gonna go. I'm gonna show you guys underneath the car. I don't think a lot of you guys have seen kind of the J series underneath besides what we had on jack stands. So we got Hasport gave us some factory S2000 J-swap mounts that we were able to just modify to fit into the FRS BRZ chassis. Really made our life so much easier than making mounts from scratch. And I mean, they fit great. So you can see we have quite a bit of clearance. Okay, I mean, not a ton, but we have some clearance for the oil pan. To get up over the cross member and over the steering rack. It'll be tight, but we'll get it in there. So this is where the starter would typically go on this kit, like in an S2000 and Tiffany's car, this is where the starter will be. Ours obviously ended up way up there. You can barely see it. Dean made us a tranny mount. Nice simple piece, works out perfect. Transmission sits right in the factory hole where the stock one did. We have plenty of room to run the exhaust down the passenger side where it runs factory. So you can kind of get an idea how our exhaust is gonna run. Comes off the bottom of the collector, loops around, comes up. We'll have a flex pipe there. It'll be attached to the engine to support it so it can all kind of move as one. And then after the flex pipe, it'll go up over the top of the cross member, and then everything will be attached to the car instead of attached to the engine. So the header turned out really good, especially for the first one we've ever done. You know, there's some couple that have some decent gaps to weld, but most of our fitment was pretty good. So we were able to keep the runners, the goal was to keep the runners opposite of each other. So you want the firing order to be kind of a cross pattern like you would torque a wheel. That gives you the best mid-range torque and gives you the best overall power band. So we spent a little bit of extra time making sure that the runners were straight across from each other. You know, if cylinder 1's firing here, cylinder 2 fires straight across, and vice versa. And hopefully that shows us decent results in the dyno. We'll have a good comparison between this and a typical 2 separate headers is what Tiffany's S2000 will have. So we'll have a good comparison between this and her car. The rest of the motors will be completely the same. So we'll be able to see, you know, if all of the additional work was worth it. Not that we had a ton of choices since the other headers don't fit because the cross member. So from the bottom, you guys can really see you just don't have any room because the steering rack. So you can see how tight it is right here. So we probably could have got it through there, but it would have made any kind of maintenance or on-track repairs super difficult. So this really is going to allow us to run the exhaust down one side of the car like it would be factory and hook up with the exhaust that we ran last year with the F-Series, which makes it so we don't have to make a new exhaust, and we'll be able to keep with what we had. Now, we will have to make a different exhaust for our first race at NCM because we don't run any mufflers in the cars typically, but NCM has a pretty quiet noise violation. You gotta have your car pretty quiet, so we'll have to run 1 muffler, if not 2. I'm not sure how loud the J Series is. I know the rest of the guys in our team, Felipe and Jake, Quincy definitely with the rotary, but the F Series I don't think is going to be able to pass the noise decibel limit with 1 muffler. So they'll probably end up with 2 mufflers or a resonator and a muffler, we'll have to see. I'm gonna get this brought down and we'll show you guys from the top side. All right, so here's top view. You guys can kind of see how we had to run everything. So the firing order on these is straight across. So cylinder 1 goes over to cylinder 3, or cylinder 4, sorry, goes 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. So all the cylinders straight across from each other. We got 1 here, and then 4 is straight across from it. And so on and so forth. So your firing order ends up straight across. That's the best way to get scavenging from the exhaust gases. So a little tight over here. We got 1 nut. We'll have to take a cheap wrench and bend it. Have a custom wrench to get that nut off. No big deal. On the other side, pretty tight, but more clearance than we had on the other side. But really happy with our radiator ducting fits. The valve covers, everything, and we have plenty of room. So could not be happy with how it turned out for the first time. So you can see, down pipe comes off. We'll put a flex pipe right here on the end with a V-band, and that'll be the end of the header. So this is gonna be mounted to the engine somewhere over here to support the bottom of the collector. And then everything from this point on will be the exhaust and be hung on the car. So, couple other little things we got going on in the shop is we have Felipe's, I'm sure you guys seen the background, Felipe's S2000. So this is another S2000 setup. This is gonna be running the F-Series with a lot of the parts from Tiffany and my car and Tiffany's car. He'll have ITBs. And then our good buddy, Wes, his BMW is here. This is gonna be eventually a GLTC car. Dean is working on the cage in here. This has to be 1 3/4 tubing because the car is over 2,500 pounds with driver. So this is 1 3/4. Dean's got the back half all finished up. Getting the plates put in and kind of getting all the front half done. Dean's done a couple of these in his day. We got a cap put in for where the sunroof was. And yeah, so we'll get this thing finished up and he'll be doing, Wes will be doing testing with us and kind of be a part of the team, and we'll help get him into GLTC. Felipe was somebody that we got into GLTC last year, and I think he did a couple races in Jake's Integra and pretty much bought a car the next weekend. And now it's a complete money pit like every other GLTC race car, and he'll be happy as can be. And broke, those go hand in hand. But so we're gonna get out of here. We'll be out later this week to start doing the finish welding on the header, and start mocking up some of the intake manifold so stuff can go out for ceramic coat and powder coat. And hopefully next weekend start doing some of the final assembly on the suspension and we'll have the heads show up Monday. So we'll be able to get the heads put on and get our J35, J32 combo engine kind of all put together and get on the home stretch. We got about 7 weeks before the first race at NCM, and we have 2 cars with no engines in them. So yeah, but we'll get to work. Really appreciate your guys' support. Thanks for following along. If you're not subscribed, please get subscribed. Really appreciate it. Thanks guys. Have a good night.